Okay, all right. All right, okay. How you doing? Chris Courtney here, new Pragmatic. New setup, new angle. Uh, Oddly enough, put to more of a. Right now, it's kind of a higher seat. It's not quite a standing desk. It will be a standing desk esque thing once I get done. A little more energy in the room, a little bit more ability to move around. So glad to have you along, though. It's middle of the week. It's late in the week. I don't know what day it is really. All these days run together when you spend so much time inside, which is what we're all doing right now. But we've got some good questions this morning. Tejel's here. Rebecca's here. I'm still looking out for my good friend James. I don't mean to call James out, but James was powering through up till about Friday of last week. I know crisis. I know crisis is pushing in on everybody, but want to see more. I want to see more out of you. If you're leveling up, if you're here to level up, James, Katie, Eve, Luigi, Kara, Tejel, Rebecca, you're all doing a great job. But I do try to keep an eye on everybody, and that's sometimes difficult because you've all, What's interesting is there are times where I can get so honed in, like I feel like I'm like me and Rebecca are like just tied in. Me and Tejel are just tied in, and some of that is the fact that you are really hustling on this full time, okay, and then if you're moving part time, it's harder for us to sync up, which is why daily stand up is so important. It gives us a rhythm of what you're doing, keeps it top of mind. That said, these are difficult times, so I do understand that that priorities and things get moved to the front or back burner at a moment's notice. I would definitely want to make sure that we are cognizant of that. James, I pick on James, but James is down in San Jose and lives in Seattle, and both places are hot spots. Not exactly the greatest situation for anybody involved. So, anyway, when I ping you or call you out, half of it is in jest. Just want to make sure that I am here, paying attention, trying to help you move forward. That said, today we are going to jump in and we're just kind of getting used to this setup. I kind of like it. I kind of think it's pretty cool. But you'll let me know if it works for you. If it seems like I'm too distracted or whatever, you'll let me know. But right now, let's go ahead and share my screen. I do need a slightly higher seat for this, but we're gonna work that out. All right, so the first thing I want to do, I think, is I believe we had Rebecca's. If I could find Figma. Oh yeah, it's over here. So Rebecca had some questions. She's working through Cellwise, a wireframe project that she's doing for a client, and she's trying to wrap this up so she can move on to another project, something medical related, so that she can jump in on that. And her question says, specifically, client wants it to be more of an arch, and I wasn't successful building one in Figma. It could be that we simply need to build a number of frames that kind of pogo back and forth. I'm not exactly I know how to make the if you wanted something to go point to point to point, I know how to make it arch, but you need a number of frames between those to make that occur. It also reads, also need help building news events page and individual template article template page. Sorry. Not sure where to present shareable icons. So Let's look at news and events real quick. I see about, I see request demo, I see contact, solutions, Chime, product page. What's this? Okay. Oh, maybe it's over here. So we talked about blog yesterday, and it looks like you've kind of found your way there. So here you're on the. Okay, so you've got the article page, and let's see here. News and events and individual articles. So this is news and events. What's interesting to me is that news and events feels a lot like the blog, in terms of the concept I have about what that would be. So part of this, when I'm thinking about, news and events, you might want it to have a slightly different feel. So I'm just gonna pull this down, so perhaps this says, instead of the blog, it says, news and events. And for news and events, maybe there is, let's go ahead and pull this down. And maybe one of the differentiating factors between these two, I'm not going to worry about the X right now. Maybe one of the differentiating factors between these two is you have a large image. And, perhaps that's one of the ways that you update this. I could see, like, the blog playing a role here. Like, hey, here's here's our upcoming whatever. That could be in the news. On the events side, I could also see. Okay, well, appreciate that, Rebecca. I'm just gonna finish my thought. It's fast moving stuff here. So the other side of this is I could totally see you taking the rail for some sort of upcoming events. And what this would allow you to do is essentially play news, in basically one column to the left, and then use the white space to kind of space this out. Took it out of the file so I could ask you how to handle the payments thing. I'll have to circle back to that. I'm not quite sure what that is. But with regard to this, I think you could, you have some styles that you can play in, that you can work with and bring into this design that would allow you to function. So here's like feature article, upcoming events, and basically you would have a rail. I would use a similar style where possible to the blog post. You probably wouldn't have, where you have read more, you probably wouldn't have that bit. But essentially, I see an opportunity to play this as a 2-column design with more of this sort of treatment all the way down. Even you could even come in and create a template style that allows you to have small images down as they are, when they are available. That's kind of how I would set up a news and events. But a lot of this, you shouldn't be just creating new styles as you go. Um, you should try to set up some components, some basic styles, and then reuse those as where possible. And I think this article page is the same, except what I would encourage you to do is, and again, I'm going to kind of pull this off to the side. Except with an article page, what I would consider doing is I would consider going. I'd have two templates essentially. I'd have one that had a large image, okay, and I think that you can, okay, so that's your byline. You got to keep that. Although you've got a byline here, so I'm confused. I'm not sure if you need both. You've got these share links, and I could see there being some sort of organization. And I'd probably flip this around in that here, this is 48. I'm not going to go auto. Headlines are always notoriously spaced out. I'd probably do something like that. This is your subhead. Now, how you present that subhead is really up to you, but I would probably organize this in such a way that the byline and date and share was all part of one unit, and then I would come back with your story down here. And I know you got red hat display. I'm going to change it to Georgia. Not that you have to use Georgia, but I do think that it's a really good typeface for this sort of thing. And a lot of people will ask, "Well, Chris, why are you using this gobbledygook for type?" And the main point here is, you often will not have typography for it, and you need a template, and a template, you just need that to understand, okay, what does this look like? So for this, I'm going to come into plugins, and I'm going to just get a lorem ipsum generator going, and we're going to generate 5 paragraphs and generate, and that gives us some length to work with. Okay. Now, one thing I would say is I don't necessarily like the spacing. So I'd probably put some spacing in between that. But there you go. You got a basic article template now. And then you're probably wondering, well, what do you do over here? Well, there's a couple things you could do. One is you could say, okay, this is going to be, and I've got to grab everything, not just the things that I want to grab. You could leave this over to the left-hand side, and you could do some sort of, other featured stories. Or, a lot of people like this whole experience to be clean, and you could pull that in, although this has got a weird measure on it, so you probably want to give it equal space on each side. And in these instances, what I typically will do is I'll pull these share links you have here. I'll pull them off to the side and just do something with share there. Like hook it up with the byline, and off you go. And really, in these cases, it doesn't really matter how many lines deep it goes. If it needs to be, I'd say I'd cut it off at 4, but you're never gonna get like a 5 headline deep. If you get that, somebody needs to learn how to write headlines. But that's kind of how I would do this. You've got a style set up for blog. I'd stay close to that. Um, then you've got news and events. I'd make news and events fairly close. Use the same styles, and then for the article page, I would make it to where that was the focus. And this is the same. This is really the same dynamic we see going from a list view to a detail view. List view, more things on the page. Detail view, solely focused on that one thing. It's the same thing as going from a list of articles to the article. Same dynamic. So I'm trying to figure out. It says I quickly took out a part of the project in our file, so I can ask you how to handle payments. The payments thing. I don't necessarily understand it. Rebecca, I'm going to have to circle back on that one. I don't necessarily, and I don't see you well, let's see, where is she? She might be working on something here. Is she in the archive? Is she in the sitemap? Oh, I don't know. I'll come back to you, Rebecca. But hey, we got to discuss article design. Yay! I like article design. All right, Tedral, you are up. Let's get over here and hey, there's Team Teachable. Teachable is for those of you that are wondering what the hell is Teachable. It's a platform for individual content creators to throw their content into a website and charge you money to look at their stuff. I don't use Teachable. I looked at it, but I just figured I wanted Gatsby so that you didn't have to necessarily have a account to get access to the stuff, because if I asked you for an account, at some point I could turn it off and say, pay me money. And I don't want to do that. I want you to always have access to the content. And I want you to always have access to me. Here we are. All right, Tejal, you had some questions specifically related to your project, and oddly enough, here we are. You've got your site here, and we're going to hop over to your questions now. Okay. How to trigger automatic resume download while clicking the download button on the About page. So let's see how that's set up right now. Okay, so right now it just links to the thing. Okay. There is a way to do this, and I'm not going to pretend that I just automatically right off the top of my head know. Button class suite before download resume. Right now, okay, so you got this as an href. So let's just look at href downloads. Download link. Href download. So how to create a download link. It's download attribute. And so yeah, that's the example. And okay. The value of the attribute will be the name of the download file. So what we need to say here is download on the anchor tag. So you have your href. I'm not sure why Okay, wait. The value of the attribute will be the same as the download file. There's no restriction on the allowed values, and the browser will automatically detect the correct file extension and attach it. So I think what it's saying here is that if we put, okay, if the value is omitted, so if we just put download on here, it will automatically download that. So, okay, well, let's try that out. I can't tell you that I've used this. That doesn't mean I don't like it. Okay, now let's see if that does the thing. And I don't think it did the thing. I think it took us to the place. So let's go back and see, what did I do wrong? And it could be that, so it's taking you to the place right now. And okay, so if I'm reading this correctly, the problem is that this, we need this instead of being on Google, which right now, this, if I could find your resume. Oh, anyway, your resume is at this link on Google, so it sees it as a link. What I need this to be instead is, I need this to, let's just, I need this to be resume.png or PDF, whatever, and I need it to be downloaded and being housed in your GitHub profile or in your GitHub repo, so that it's a downloadable file. Right now it's a link to a place, not a downloadable file. So I'm not sure. So if, for instance, if we change this, let's change this to this image. So you have this, you have this image here, okay? And this image is images about Hero SVG, okay? So if we came over here and we said, okay, this download, instead of being resume.pdf, which makes no sense, and I'm going to put download after it, if I can spell download. Okay, so now I've got download, and it's just download. Now if I hit this, it should, yeah. So now it's trying to download about hero.svg. So to get this to download properly, what you need to do is save it into your GitHub repo, and in the GitHub repo, link to that file. It would probably be like /images/resume.whatever, or if you want to save it somewhere else, it's fine. I would probably say files. Create a folder called files. In that folder, documents. Call it documents. It's files that's everything. Although documents is everything too. It's a confusing structure. You could just call it resume, or you could just drop it in. I would advise not just randomly dropping it in. I don't know. I think I would put it in the images folder. Put in images, then put resume.whatever PDF, and then that should work. Okay. So we're gonna cancel that. We're gonna refresh. All right. You had other questions though, and Rebecca removed something. Okay. I have changed the menu to Bergen Bread and Idea Board. However, I really need help changing the first link to case studies, which drops down to Bergen. And okay. Is it possible to connect to the featured work section? Okay, so this is just an anchor tag. So for instance, let's just play the for instance game. So I'm just going to come back in, and we'll go to your home page real fast. And there's a couple things I want to do. I want to come down to featured projects. So let's inspect element here. And featured projects on this headline, I could put it on the section 2. I could put it on the container. So I'll put it here. I'll put it here, and I'll give this an ID. And I'll say ID equals featured. Okay? And up here, we're going to take Bergen. We're going to inspect that element. And here's Bergen. The href here isn't going to go to bergen.html anymore. It's going to go to featured, hashtag featured, which is ID featured. And then we'll change this to featured projects. Okay, now that we've got this, what should happen is this automatically jumps to the top. You can do it again. Now, there is a way to smooth this out, okay. And Rebecca, that's fine. You've got to. Okay, that's cool. Just getting some breaking messages from Rebecca. Yeah, we'll talk in a minute, Rebecca. No problem at all. So, Tedral, for this, this is where the anchor tag is how you make it happen. You want to go in and pull animate on scroll into this so that it slowly moves down. The other thing the other question is always, where do we put the link? Because you don't want it here. And the big problem I always have is when I'm linking to these, we have the sticky header here. And when it links, it doesn't link to here. It always links to here, which feels weird. And if you linked down here, it would link to that. So that's always a bit of an issue. I think it's something that you can adjust for. I typically end up designing a little more padding around the top of this, knowing that it's going to come into contact. And what I mean by that is, so here we are on featured, and I'll put padding to the top. I'll bake that in, so it's now 6, and it looks like it's a lot until you do that, and then it's not much at all. And it always comes into, okay, so how much space do you want to have around these things? Well, it depends on how this is working. We can also look at how to refine the scrolling. There is a bit of transition. So let's just do that really quick. Anchor tag. And I have to look this stuff up all the time. I can't even spell anchor this morning. Come on, people. Anchor tag. Transition. Scrolling to an anchor using CSS. And so basically, Yeah, that's not what we want. Okay, I have a series of links using this anchor mechanism. Use the following CSS, working fine with the course, jumping from one section to the next. We click on the next link. So, yeah, I'm not sure what's happening here. Yeah, really comes down to these transform, translate. So here they're saying anchor tag, what's the ID? The target is this main panel, and then it's translating where it goes. So this is the scrolling part of that. But this is all meant to keep it from just popping down. So there's scroll behavior, smooth, and let's run this code snippet just to kind of get an idea of what this is like. So 2, 3, section scroll behavior smooth. So let's go ahead and use that over here. Okay, so we got to get into your CSS to do this, but I think we can do it right here just for our purposes. So we're going to section ID scroll behavior smooth, and now that didn't work. I need something more than that. Anchor inline block. Oh, overflow Y. Oh, this is section. This is within a section. Oh, and somebody went all crazy with the JavaScript. We don't need that. That's way overblown. This just needs a little CSS. Everybody else's answers are JavaScript related. Let's take a look at this one. And this needs to be full pages. Yeah, that's definitely what we want. Let's close it. So this has a section main ID. Oh, okay. I get it. So within this main section, article class panel. So main article class of panel. That's what the article dot panel means. Look for the ID, and then it's setting a particular translate on it. That's actually going to require a bit of updating of your HTML, the structure, but if you want to translate it this way and not just link down to a specific area, if you want to like move it in specific increments, this would be a way to do that. Yeah, I think that part of what we need is this transform. This is all just a bunch of style. Transition. Yeah, let's come back over. And again, I'm trying to do this just living here. No. I'll have to get into the code to do this, but long story short, to make it link down, this is where you need to come into the header. So this is, you're gonna ID featured, and then on featured down here, this is where you would want to come up to the section that's around it and say ID equals featured, and that's what links them together. We can work on that transition at another point because it's just a little CSS, but I need to get into your actual file and start working there. But we will leave it here for today. I want to make sure I answered. Yeah, that's the okay. So we covered how to trigger, and I thought for sure you could link to a Google file, and you can. You just can't link. You've got to link to a place where the file exists. I don't think you can link to a place where I'm supposed to view the file, which is how you have it right now. So instead of viewing the file, we want to just download the file. Unless you wanted them to view the file. Then if you want them to view the file, you have it set up perfectly now. And then on the Bergen dropping down case studies and dropping down to Bergen link, dropping down to featured work is simply adding an ID and making sure that that anchor tag is pointing at the ID, not another page. Okay? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap it up for today's edition of the Feedback Loop. Let me know if you like the new setup. I've got a little more work to do here. Going to be working through the day. And I'm looking forward to seeing Tejal. I'm looking forward to seeing Eve. They've got sessions this evening. If you have not scheduled a session, get on the books. I want to see you so that we can work together. All right? Otherwise, have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.